It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and 10.
All right, gang, welcome into episode 111 of the Border War. I'm the TanMan, and BG is in the studio with me. BG, we want to take a minute and thank all the listeners. We had quite a giant spike, if I do say so, this past week.
Yeah, the numbers jumped way up.
Basically tripled what we've been doing every week for the last month or so.
3 times the number of listeners. Notice how I went with number and not amount. Hopefully that's sustainable. I would love to see our Spotify numbers. We always talk about this off the air. In case you don't know out there, anything you do on Spotify or really Apple Podcast, any of the national podcast services, they claim to not be able to track numbers at all. So, well, I suspect we have more listeners than we think we do. But, yes, definitely on Spreaker this week. Somebody out there got really into the border war.
They went on a border war binge. I'm okay with that.
I'm perfectly okay
I'm fine with that. You can follow us on Twitter at the Border War. He is at BG_Border War. I'm at TanMan 3264. You can like and share our page on Facebook as well. Encourage your family and friends to do the same. Yesterday afternoon, BG, the sports world, as far as I'm concerned, was brought to its knees. All is right in the golfing world. Golf is a topic we don't touch a lot here on the Border War. I myself am a pretty big golf fan, but this, in my opinion, exceeded.
Well, to be honest, there hasn't been a lot of talk, a lot of reason to talk about golf until yesterday.
Yeah, I think this story is bigger than the sport of golf. In case you have been under a rock, Tiger Woods has ended his 11-year major drought. He has won the Masters for the first time in 14 years. BG, what a comeback. It was unbelievable.
All right, so I suppose there's 2 different ways to look at this, and you can judge it, I guess, by how big of a sports story you think it is, and then you can also judge it by how big of a comeback you think. Okay, so let me just get my easy opinion out of the way first. I don't think there's any question that this is the biggest sports comeback ever. And there is, if you're listening and you want to throw something else at me, man, I'm not having it. Okay, I get that Ben Hogan had a wreck that almost killed him,
right,
and came back and won the U.S. Open. Okay, I get that the Boston Red Sox were down 3 games to none in the ALCS and came back and won it, and that had never been done. But again, those were quick turnarounds, right? This dude has been wandering in the golf wilderness for more than a decade. He had dropped off the map. Like, every time you heard him come up on the news, you felt like ESPN or something was just pushing the narrative. You and me are both Tiger guys, and we would talk off there. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. But to have it happen in Augusta is just insane.
I think this was the perfect place for it.
Oh, yeah.
You saw it. Yeah. You saw it Sunday. Some of the shots that he was hitting, the going and getting to 15-2, the shot at 16 on Sunday, all of that stuff, man. That's all him digging back in the memory bank, knowing exactly what
he's comfortable with that course,
knowing exactly where to put the ball. This, to me, this is the best comeback story, and I know they talked about this some on TV this morning. You talk Muhammad Ali coming back after he was out of boxing for those couple years, was one. You mentioned Ben Hogan, but from where Tiger Woods was, I won't even say a few years ago, I'll say from where he was 18 months ago to winning the Masters. And I forget the caddy's name.
Yeah, I don't know his name either.
The little short guy with the big beard, the bald guy.
Yeah.
He said this morning, his back is not fixed. His back is not recovered. It was fused together. He said at some point his back is going to go out again.
Yeah.
His back is going to fail him again. But up until the point that his body fails him, knock on wood, hopefully it's years down the road, Tiger Woods has positioned himself I think he's gotten up to number 6 in the world now. I mean, not that long ago, he was in the hundreds. He was
not that long ago. He wasn't on the list.
You know, if
he was low enough ranked that they didn't put it. Would they only go down to 200? Don't they? I mean, like he wasn't on there.
Way down.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Let me put it to you this way: if I declared myself a professional golfer tomorrow morning, I would be somewhere around where Tiger Woods was.
Listen,
whenever he was out of golf.
Do that tomorrow so we can find out what the last number is. That would answer the question.
I'll be ranked 217,452nd.
They put a decimal beside your name.
Or maybe 3264. I don't know.
Yay!
As far as the biggest sports story, I'm going to say yes, BG. And now I say the biggest sports story in our lifetime. You and I have talked about this. Somewhere around those early 90s is kind of where I started realizing what sports was. To me, this was the equivalent of Tom Brady and the New England Patriots not only not winning a Super Bowl for 11 years, but having a few 0-16 seasons sprinkled in along there, and then coming back and winning a Super Bowl.
I have a harder time with this part of it. Let me throw it back to the comeback discussion real quick, though. I on the way to work this morning, I thought of a comeback that would, I think, have been just as good. Because I started thinking, I was like, I was listening to Mike and not Mike, and they were talking about it poorly. It was actually not Mike and some other guy, because I don't know if you've noticed this. They're never both on there anymore.
Huh.
Not Mike misses 3 days a week. I don't know what's going but he's all golfy, so he was going to be there for this. Anyway, they're talking about guys that potentially, had these comebacks, and they never touched on the one I'm thinking of. So let me just see if I can get you to guess it. Can you think of anyone who was dominant in the sports world that got as personally low as Tiger Woods did and tried to make a comeback? It's not golf.
Ric Flair?
Not Ric Flair. I am thinking about the squared circle, though. I'm going with Iron Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, had he come back and won, unified the title the way he did in 90 when he beat Michael Spinks in, 19 seconds?
Yeah.
If he had come back and competed on that level, even for 6 months to a year, I think you could put that up there with what Tiger Woods did, because Tyson went to prison. Tyson was off the map.
That's it, though.
But he didn't.
But that's why I'm going to disagree with your Tyson take. Mike Tyson, and it's the same thing with Muhammad Ali. He made a choice. Muhammad Ali made a choice that took himself out of boxing. Mike Tyson made life choices that took himself out of boxing. Tiger Woods didn't ask.
Well, I think
for his back to fail him.
I'm going to side with Sarah Spain a little bit on this one. I think you can make the argument that some of the stuff that happened to Tiger Woods was
whenever
all that stuff started happening at the same time.
Well, no, whenever he won the U.S. Open in 2008. Then his
on a torn ACL.
All right, then his knee kind of started failing him. I think it was around 2010. All the stuff with his wife and all of his personal issues started kind of coming to the forefront. And he came back from that stuff. I think he won Tour Player of the Year one year, and he won like 5 events. None of them were majors. I think the biggest one was like the Memorial, but he won like 5 events that year. He came back. He got past all that stuff, and then his back started failing him.
Yeah.
Coming back, like he didn't ask for any of that stuff. But
however he got there doesn't affect how big of a comeback it would have been if Tyson had done that.
See, I think it does. But that's my opinion.
But regardless, I'm agreeing with you that it is the biggest comeback because Tyson didn't pull that off.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of anybody else who dealt, because it's not just a sports story. This guy had personal demons that he had to deal with and the health problems. And again, 11 years, man.
When he came off the green at 18, and they put the side-by-side pictures up in 97 when he comes off and he's blown the field away down at Augusta at 21 years old, I think it was, meeting his dad, having that moment with his dad, and then coming off yesterday. He's got his 2 kids there. He's got his mom there in that exact same spot. That same place.
Yes,
I mean,
Wearing the same thing.
Wearing the same black and red.
Well,
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I mean, it was just yesterday afternoon was so much fun.
And this is going to sound so stupid, but maybe it won't. But I love that he took his cap off. I love that we saw that Tiger Woods is losing his hair. He didn't look 25 years old the way he looks when he puts that cap on. You could see the toll that life has taken on him. And you could see like the exhaustion in his eyes. And that, I mean, ultimately that is why we care about sports, because we identify part of ourselves with these teams, these players that we care about. You know, you want to feel like we were talking about Jeff Francoeur last week. For a Braves announcer, I'm watching all these games. I need to feel like this guy is part of my family as the years go by. And so, I'm with you. It was so much bigger than sports in a way that only, I think, single competition sports can give you.
Yeah, he spent so many years being like this golf robot, this golf machine, where he gave you no kind of insight into who he was.
Right.
And people that were close to him would tell you, man, this guy's, he's a really funny guy. He is fun to be around.
But not on the course.
But not in public. In public, he gave you this buttoned up, robotic, I think we're starting all this stuff in his life has kind of made him a little bit of a different person. He jokes around now. He smiles for the cameras. I think we're starting to see kind of, I don't want to say Tiger soften, but Tiger kind of warm up to that side a little bit. And I think it's great. Now, immediately, of course, the conversation turns to, well, is he going to catch Jack Nicklaus? I don't know. You're talking he's 4 more majors, 3 more majors. I mean, that's an excellent. I think Phil Mickelson has 5, and he's won. If it weren't for Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson would be the greatest golfer of our lifetime. So whether or not that he gets that still a tall order. Irregardless, the fact that he got this one at this place, his career to me has kind of come full circle. And if this turns out to be his Jack Nicklaus in '86 moment when Jack won the Masters at 46 years old, if that's what this is, and this is the final stamp on Tiger Woods' career as a major champion, I tip your cap.
No, you still can roll the credits and you're just fine.
Fantastic.
I would like to throw out, and I don't think these are true. I don't think these quite come up to that point, and I'll say why, and one of them is going to really get on your nerves. They're both Major League Baseball, but the Cubs and the Red Sox, both of those teams winning the World Series, because it had been over a century in one case. I mean, but I think the reason it's not the same, though, is because it's not the same guy.
Right.
It's not one person. And the bottom line is, I mean, if you're listening and you're a big Cubs fan or you're a big Red Sox fan, A, shame on you. But B, actually ask yourself this question, and we all know the answer already. Did anything, I heard somebody say Peyton Manning. Okay, Peyton Manning had the same surgery, right? He is, but he didn't win that Super Bowl.
No, he was there. He was around for it.
He didn't turn the ball over in that Super Bowl. A healthy Peyton Manning from 2 seasons before would have beaten the Panthers by 40 points that night. That was a shell of Peyton Manning. Okay, the Cubs that lost the World Series in 1912 were not the same Cubs that won this World Series 2 years ago or 3 years ago. They weren't the same people. Tiger's the same guy. But here's the bottom line.
So I hope they're not the same people. They'd be like 100 years old.
It really would be a great comeback then, though,
wouldn't
it? I don't think we would be arguing about Tiger. But here's my point. The Red Sox, the Cubs, Peyton Manning, George Foreman, can you think of anything that even approached moving the needle the way this thing has?
No.
I heard people talking about Tiger Woods today that probably don't know who Peyton Manning played for. I mean, not even remotely sports fans talking about Tiger Woods. And that didn't happen when the Cubs won the World Series.
No.
It didn't happen. It just didn't.
I'd love to see the numbers yesterday from, 12:30, noon, on to the end. I'd love to see the numbers for that back nine at Augusta compared to some of the other big sporting events, because I have a hard time believing that is not as good as it gets.
Yeah, I saw somebody tweet yesterday, and I wish I could tell you who and give them credit, because we do that on this show.
We don't just steal things.
We give credit to people when they have the ideas. But it was a tweet that basically said if CBS had any brains at all, they would just immediately announce they were going to rebroadcast the last hour of the Masters. Like, just Go ahead and throw it back on TV. Because no one that was watching it would have stopped watching. They would have just watched it again.
They would have watched again.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of watching again or not watching again.
I did not watch.
You did not watch.
I did not watch game 82 of the Charlotte Hornets basketball season.
Well, look, they put the little box in the top corner of the screen.
And yes, in case you don't know, that means we're switching topics.
Yeah, the top corner of the screen during the Hornets game, they had the Pistons and the Knicks score up there. When the Pistons were up by like 30, there really wasn't any point.
There was no reason to watch. It didn't matter whether they won or lost.
The season of Los Muchos, terrible basketballos, is over for the Charlotte Hornets. Another losing season. So, BG, the question...
That wasn't Spanish, by the way.
It was Spanglish.
That was nothing.
TanMan Spanglish.
That was TanMan awful.
Los Muchos, terrible basketballos.
You're a higher ranked golfer than you are a Spanish speaker, my friend.
You're probably right about that. I did almost have a hole-in-one one time. The Hornets...
Putt doesn't count, man. Putt doesn't
I'll wear you out on a putt-putt course.
Oh, okay.
I'll wear you out.
Okay. Man, what is all the fire in your eyes?
You don't want the problems with a flat stick on a putt-putt course.
But I'm just saying.
I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. Leave it
Please,
there.
let's leave it there.
Just leave it there.
Yeah, you won. I lost.
Right.
Yay.
The Hornets, the big question, will they or won't they, according to Mitch Kupchak? He says they're going to do everything in their power
to re-sign
Kemba Walker, BG.
Well, the first question is, Kemba Walker want to be re-signed? Well, that's the first thing.
Before the season, he says, this is where I want to be. I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to build something here.
And I do believe that still.
I think he believed that. When he said that, I think he's being honest. But when you ask him after they just lose the last game of the season, missed the playoffs for the third straight year, a third straight losing season, his response to that question in the post game was a little less... solid.
That was also right after the game. I mean, he's in his feelings at that point. I mean, I think that's a little less reliable than the way he's feeling the next day or the next week after he's had a shower and a couple of good meals and gotten a decent night's sleep and isn't practicing. Although maybe that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Maybe that makes it easier to walk away because you're not around you guys. I mean, from everything everybody says, I mean, he and all these young guys are as tight as a glove. I mean, I'd like to believe he's going to come back. I tell you, though, here's the real thing that I struggle with. I'd like to think it matters whether he comes back. Because you're just not going to convince me that the Hornets are going to make any noise until after they do it. They're going to have to hit. And we've seen this retweeted, and I can't stand Golden State, okay? I can't stand Steph Curry. I can't stand the way he chews on his mouthpiece. We talked about it at Festivus, okay? But the Golden State Warriors won 73 games before Kevin Durant. They won 73 games 100% off of the fill-in-the-blank, TanMan.
Off the draft.
The draft. And the Hornets have missed and missed and missed and missed. And they're going to have to hit on someone. This occurred to me today. Do you know who the Hornets really remind me of? I'm going to take it outside the box, but yet stay inside the box. The Washington Redskins.
I was going to say the Mulkey brothers.
The Washington Redskins. No, because the Mulkeys always...
Also known as the Mulkey brothers.
Well, no, because the Mulkeys only won that one time. They only won that one time.
Kind of like the Redskins.
They beat Assassin number 1 and Assassin number 2. No, but just to make the Hornets argument, do you know what the Redskins' record in the NFL is since the year 2000?
5 games under 500.
They are... I'm wanting to say, I can't remember the exact number, but does 180 sound right? Like they are 181 and 182. No, they're 181, 182, and 1. That is the Charlotte Hornets. And I don't feel like it's going to matter. I mean, they're an 8-seed bubble team.
Well, here's my issue with the Hornets. I think they're at an interesting crossroads, okay?
I think they're at a crossroads. I don't find it interesting.
Well, the decision on whether or not, because I'm certain that Kemba Walker is going to wind up on one of the All-NBA teams. So he's going to be eligible for the designated player extension, known as the Supermax, also known as the killer for any future cap flexibility. You can go back and look at these. Do you think the Washington Wizards are glad that they gave John Wall that Supermax? No, they basically got backed into that. So here's the thing. If Kemba Walker is willing to take less, which I don't know why he would, but if he's willing to take less, then yeah, you sign him, and then you can explore whether or not a sign and trade is possible. If he signs and he's going to stay, then you can start talking about what to do with Jeremy Lamb. If he opts not to stay, then in my opinion, there's absolutely no reason to re-sign Jeremy Lamb.
Right.
The free agent that they should be targeting, to me, would be Danny Green, because at that point you're going all in with your kids, with the Grahams, with the Malik Monks, Dwayne Bacons. The one thing Malik Monk has got to do, he's a little undersized for a two-guard, so he's always going to be going up against bigger guys. He's got to get stronger. He's got to dedicate himself on the defensive end a little more. Danny Green would be the perfect guy to kind of mentor him and bring him along at a more manageable salary, because I think Lamb is going to he's going to demand a little bit of a pay raise. But the other thing is, that gives you a little bit of cap flexibility. Now, next year you're kind of locked in, but going forward, do you start taking on bad contracts? Do you bring some of those contracts in, attach them with draft picks, and tell everybody, look, bring me your tired, your poor, and all your overpaid bums?
Right.
You throw a couple draft picks in there, and you spend a year just kind of paying folks to play bad basketball for the payoff in the future for some picks.
I get all of that. These are all things we've talked about before. I guess here's my question. If I'm a Charlotte Hornets fan, and we're not talking about the basketball guy, we're talking about a guy like me. A guy like me who watched 2 Hornets games a week, until about the middle of January, and then said,
you finally just said,
forget this, man. All right. So, as a casual Hornets fan, convince me, man, what am I looking forward to? Or am I looking forward to a decade of being the Washington Redskins?
Well, you said, you make the argument that you're kind of stuck in that purgatory area now. To me, the bigger question is, if they go full tank mode, Kemba Walker decides, you know what, it's been a hell of a run. Yeah, I'm knocking on the door to 30. Before I get past my athletic prime, I want to have an opportunity to at least compete for a championship. They start the full-on rebuild.
I think he would be happy winning a playoff series right now.
Right. To me, the question is, the average fan, I watch a couple games a week, maybe go to a few games a year. If they go full-on rebuild, and I'm talking bottoming out,
Knicks.
Philadelphia 76ers, Knicks, trust the process stuff, are they going to be able to bring you back in? Are fans like you, are you going to be able to, I don't want to say stomach the rebuild, but are they going to be able to bring you back in whenever there starts to be a little light at the end of the tunnel? Or are you just going to move on to something else?
The Braves did.
Did they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say I've watched, 15 Braves games this year already. And before last season started, I was to the point with the Braves where I was just like, man, I'm tired of all this. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of future. I'm tired of it. Now, you could argue that I was much more invested in the Braves than I was in the Hornets. But when the Hornets first came to Charlotte, I was in high school when they first, I was a Hornets fan, man. I was a Hornets fan. And so
I think there are a lot more people who are not gonna see the
I think if they start winning, though, but I see what you're saying. Can they survive the bottom out?
I don't think that Philadelphia is a basketball town, man. That is a
the
basketball
76ers
town.
and the Knicks both, the size of the city and the metropolitan area is not even comparable. And then 2 storied franchises.
Right.
Storied franchise. Charlotte doesn't have that.
I don't think that the city of Charlotte, that market, I don't think it can support a full on tear down rebuild.
There's a big push now to get them a baseball team of all things, and I'm just stop.
And better yet, I've always said, do you trust this team and this front office to go out and identify the talent through the draft? Because that's what we always hear, the draft. Look who they've drafted. Other than Kemba Walker, it's been an absolute dumpster fire for the last 13 years since they got back from exile in New Orleans for a while, and it's been nothing. So I don't know. So anyway, the first round's underway. Real quick, we've got the Warriors. Everybody's played a game. The Warriors, no surprise, up 1-0. You've got the Rockets and Jazz. The Blazers and
the Rockets ought to have gone
City.
up 2 for that win.
And in the West, rounding it out, you've got Denver and San Antonio. BG, who you got in these first-round matchups on the West?
I'm going to go chalk over 7 games. I mean, there were obviously Denver in particular didn't look great. Over 7, I don't see any upsets. I think I still like the Rockets coming out of the West better than I've liked anybody in a long time. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that the Rockets could have easily won it last year, and I think this might be a better Rockets team than we had last year. So if they gave Golden State, but to me, that's where the drama is. I know there were quite a few first game. Yeah, I know, but I don't think there's a lot to talk about with the first round.
I think on the Western side, if I'm going to pick somebody, I'm going to go. You nailed it a few weeks ago when you were talking, but you had them matching up with Golden State. I think San Antonio could upset Denver.
If we're going to pick an upset, I think that's it.
I want to say Oklahoma City because I like when we've seen them play really well. They look like they could play with anybody, but you taking on Portland. Portland's a team that got swept last year in the first round by New Orleans, so I think they've got that little chip on their shoulder. Speaking of shoulders, I don't necessarily know what's going on with Paul George's right now. We've seen Russell Westbrook can't win a series by himself. So I think Portland's going to end up sending Oklahoma City home. So I'm going to say San Antonio over Denver if I'm in an upset mood. On the Eastern side, maybe the biggest upset in all of the first playoff games. Orlando over Toronto. You've got Brooklyn over Philadelphia. The Celtics sneak one away from the Pacers. And Milwaukee pounds Detroit in the first game. That's going to be over quickly. But on the East side, kind of like you with the West, if I've got to pick one, maybe it's a homerism. Indiana over Boston, but I think this one goes chalk.
I mean, it's
1, 2, 3, 4 in the East.
It's 6 of one, half a dozen of another with the Pacers and the Celtics anyway from the regular season. I mean, one gets the 4, one gets the 5, but I definitely think Toronto is going to be ripe for the picking in the next round because that's what they do. But, I don't see it either.
Watch out for that 3-6 matchup with Philadelphia and Brooklyn. Joel Embiid is not fully healthy. There was some discussion about whether or not he was going to play Game 1. Now they got guys sitting over there playing Candy Crush on their phone during the ball game. I don't know exactly what's going on. There's some talk.
You don't think he was checking on his sick daughter?
Maybe, maybe not. All the years, think about it, all the years that they stunk. And Philadelphia stuck with Brett Brown as the coach. Coaches around the league were coming out in support of him, basically saying, look, man, this guy's got nothing.
Right.
Now they're saying, look, if they fall in this first round, that his job might be on the line here. So you don't really know what kind of turmoil might be going on behind the scenes. And slowly but surely, Brooklyn, over the past few years, when that GM took over, the roster was terrible. They had no draft picks. And little by little, they've gotten a little better each year. And here they are as a 6th seed. Watch out for Brooklyn over Philadelphia in that first round, BG. So that's our NBA first round playoff update. I'm sure that when we come back next week, it'll still be in the first round because the NBA playoffs last for 9 months.
Let's just be honest. I mean, part of the problem with the first round is there's too many teams making the playoffs in the NBA. Most of these, there's just nothing compelling about first round NBA playoff. It was a best of 3. Oh, yeah.
See,
if it was a best of 5,
I think they should go back to best of 5 for the first
best
round.
of 7, you just...
Well, do we really need 7 games to tell us that Milwaukee's better than Detroit?
Right.
No.
Why does Golden State have to win 4 games just to make it into the playoffs? They should have... and I think, really, man,
I'm with you. I think they made a mistake when they went with 5.
I think Adam Silver is the kind of guy that would probably look into first-round buys, but he knows what... It would be too big of an advantage with a 7-game series.
When you're at 5 games, it's a little shorter. The chances for somebody... We'll just take it right. The chances for the Clippers to come up with a win in a series against Golden State in 5 games is... to me, it's bigger than...
Much bigger.
It's bigger than trying to beat them in a best of 7. The NBA wants their best teams at the end, they don't want these upsets. They didn't really want the Denver Nuggets beating Seattle back in the 90s.
Well, we talked about this all the time.
They wanted Sean Kemp and Gary Payton to advance.
When we talked about the NCAA tournament, that's what we brought up. That you don't see that in the NBA. But if you don't want upsets, man, I don't know. Why have this first round tournament at all? I don't feel like a lot of people are watching just yet.
That's a fair take. People watching, people not watching.
Well,
BG, the last few minutes of the show I want to dedicate to a problem that I saw all over social media this past weekend. Maybe you can...
some the weekend before, too.
Yeah, some the weekend before. Help me out with this, BG. I get the football craze. I get everybody loves college football. That's the thing driving the bus, especially here in the South.
I don't even know if love is the right word anymore. They need
Obsessed.
it. They need it. They're not even happy when they have it. It's just...
What the hell's the deal? Who cares about spring football game attendance? Why is this a thing now? Help me.
Do you know and you're just pretending?
No, I don't understand. I mean, I get a nice big crowd being there for Clemson a couple weeks ago. I think they did some championship stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
gave them the rings.
Gave them the ring. I get all that. Okay, yeah. I was at the Late Night with Roy thing when they dropped the banner, and I'm telling you, the building was full. The next year, it wasn't. I get the whole championship idea, but comparing spring game attendance between fan bases, we had more people at ours than you got. Huh?
Whether it actually is or not, the reason that such a big deal is made of it is because it's perceived as being a recruiting tool. And that's the long and short of it. And I saw it with you guys last week. I mean, Mac Brown and the media department at North Carolina went out of their way to try to drive those attendance numbers up. And like we talked about before the show, I didn't see anything about it. I don't know whether it worked or not. South Carolina was announced at 25,000 people. I think it was probably closer to 18,000 people. Clemson, makes a big deal out of getting 50 or 60,000 people in that stadium for a spring. And it's not a game. It's a practice.
Yeah.
I think it's because we perceive that any little thing you do can be used as recruiting, because I think most people have accepted the fact that all college football is recruiting. There's very little coaching left anymore. It's recruiting. People are running simpler and simpler offenses that just require you to have great athletes, and the spring game is just one more way to do that.
To me, in a regular season game, they're going to count how many tickets they sold, right? They don't care how many tickets get scanned. They're going to count. So when you look out and you see swaths of empty seats around there, and they go, "Oh, it's a sellout." Well, yeah, it is. When you start putting out a spring game numbers, most time you're just walking in. So if they tell you there's 50 people in the stands, then I tend to believe there's 50 people in the stand. I think those numbers would be more accurate than an actual regular season game.
You would think.
But I just don't get it's a recruiting week. How many recruits are going, well, I'm going to go to this school because they have more people at their spring game? To me, it's nonsense. Nonsense.
They do make it a big recruiting weekend. They bring in recruits. I mean,
See, I would be more concerned.
I have my own theories about why Xavier Thomas went to Clemson, but one of the stories is he went to the South Carolina spring game and saw how poorly attended it was, and he was like, I was just at Clemson and the whole stadium was full. I don't want to be part of this.
I would be more concerned if you're going to make this a big recruiting weekend. Thumbs up, man. If I'm the football staff, I want to make sure that player A and player B have a good time around campus, that they enjoy the campus life more than I'm concerned with trying to make sure that we're hitting a certain number of fans in the stands at a spring game.
And you can talk about the way that different coaches approach their spring game too.
I will say I liked the idea that North Carolina pushed theirs back a week.
Yeah,
they pushed it back after the NCAA tournament, so that say North Carolina hadn't made a Final Four.
They didn't.
They didn't.
Just to be clear,
they did not make a Final Four. But say they had, where's the fans' focus going to be?
No question.
It's going to be focused on the NCAA tournament, on being in the Final Four.
I think you need to prevent that.
So pushing it all the way past that, I think it was a brilliant idea by Mac Brown. I think our announced number was like 10,000. I think he would have had more had the threat of tornadoes and all the other weather-related issues not been out there. I think it kept a lot of fans home.
They tried hard. They tried. North Carolina is going to have to win games to get fans interested. I mean, they just are. It's not a football school.
Starting with week 1 up at Bank of America Stadium.
Hey, man, I think you've got, at worst, a 45% chance to win that game. I don't anticipate us. When's the last time you saw South Carolina look good in week 1?
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
A long while.
What I was getting at, though, and I didn't get a chance to watch yours at all, but being that Muschamp is sort of a Mac Brown protege, I wouldn't be surprised if Mac thinks similarly. But when you watch Dabo and you watch Muschamp and the way they run these things, they're just polar opposites. And this is what gets me about Muschamp a little bit. If you're going to kind of let your athletic department talk about it like it's a recruiting day, and it's a fan day, then go ahead and do that. Because what Sweeney does up at Clemson is they got blow-up things out on the face painting and free food and all this. Okay,
that's
so
what
you make it a big party. Well,
yeah.
What Will Muschamp does is he has another football practice. And what he did the other day is he takes Jake out after one series, which, I mean, I'm fine with that because you do need to find out about your 2 quarterbacks.
Right.
All right. So he puts Joyner in, then he puts Helinski in, then back and forth. And every freaking play, he blitzes the safeties or the cornerbacks. And the correct read on all of those things is a screen to one side or the other. So people on social media who, let's just call it a spade, don't really know the game very well. Oh, this is South Carolina's offense. And I'm like, no, you idiots. He's just watching to see if they make the correct reads over and over and over and over again. But if you're going to do that, man, just don't have the thing.
Larry Fedora got crucified the other year when they just didn't have a spring game. We just didn't do it. I agree with your take on Dabo. To me, if you're going to do it, have you've been to these things? They're boring.
They're very boring.
They are awful.
Well,
man.
it's like going to the Panthers camp. I mean, people get all excited about it. Like, have you ever been to a football practice?
It's boring, man. It's not fun to watch. So if you're gonna put it on, make it a show, like you said. Have the face painting.
Run some reverses. Throw some deep passes.
And for goodness sake, actually make it look somewhat like a football game. I hate this whole offense versus defense. We're going to give points for sacks and stuff. Just play the football game, man. Right. Just play the football game.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is with us, I mean, you don't even know which team's which.
Right.
I mean, they call it garnet versus black, but like there's guys wearing garnet jerseys that are on the black. I don't get any of it. But I'm like you. If you're going to call it a game, then play a game. If you're not going to play a game, just have open scrimmages and don't make. But I mean, to be honest with you, I think some coaches that are old school, like Muschamp, are sort of torn between what they think works and what.
Look, but you want me to bring. You want me to bring my wife and my kids to the spring game because you want all these bodies in the stands.
Right.
You want to put on this big show. Give me something to watch.
I agree.
Give me something that will keep my kids interested whenever I show up for a couple hours.
And I mean,
and watching a safety blitz is not going to do it, man.
And if you want to say, well, if you're a South Carolina fan and you're out there saying, well, it is a football prep, blah 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 blah. Well, you know what? If you look at Dabo's approach and you look at Muschamp's approach, I mean, the results.
They speak for themselves.
I mean, they speak for themselves, not as if they both started on the starting line at the same gun. I mean, Dabo had a pretty good head start on Muschamp, at least in this rivalry here. But I don't see it turning. I don't see it turning.
All right, that's it for episode 111. Again, we want to thank everybody out there for joining us each week, especially last week. The numbers went through the roof. You can email the show. Give us your thoughts and opinions on some of the things.
Roof.
The ceiling is the roof. Give us your opinion on some of the topics that we've discussed here today, or if there's something else on your mind, we'd love to hear about it at CarolinaBorderWar@gmail.com. BG and TanMan, we're out. See you next week.
I'm really kind of defensive about that putt-putt thing.
Your
eyes changed.
You don't want them problems.
Your eyes were a different color.
You don't want them problems. I'm just telling you.